Hello guys, welcome back to John HD Gaming, and today I'm going to showcase my French deck. This is a pure French deck without any specific bonuses, so that we can get access to all the units possible. And the good thing about the French deck is that we get a large number of activation points, so let's go right into it. What I've done is I've chosen the VAB PC as my main CV because it is slightly cheaper and armored. I bring in 2 logistics because I tend to use up a lot of supplies. My infantry, I bring in the ATGM Milans. I brought in the Milan F2 and Milan F1 because I tend to use up a lot of ATGM squads very quickly. We can only bring in 1 ATGM F2, and as a result I bring in another ATGM F1. I brought in 3 squads of legions because legions can help me hold on to choke points and they are pretty good. If I'm not mistaken, there are no AA infantry over here, so we gotta rely on our support for the main AA defense. What I've done is I've taken all of the Rolands that I can. We can only take a maximum of 3, and I've taken in 1 group of Mistrals just as a backup. Mistrals can have some effect against the aircraft and helicopters. The next thing I did is to choose the tanks. The main bulk of my tanks have slightly more decent armor. For example, the AMX has an armor of 11. It is not amazing as compared to the US or the Soviet tanks with a front armor of perhaps around 17, 18 or 19. But they should give us a decent front line. I've taken the AMX 32 and the AMX 40 because they have a front armor of 12, 10 and 12, so that should give us pretty good front line. I've chosen some cheaper tanks. The AMX 30. These AMX 30 are more of like a throwaway sacrificial units to get the opponents to target them, while our vehicles such as our ATGM AMX Hot, VAB Mephisto, and the Milans deal the main bulk of the damage. This is the reason why I bring in a lot of these ATGM vehicles, because they are the main sort of punch of my deck, whereas my tanks are meant to hold positions. I brought in a couple of recon. The AML 90 is pretty cheap. I brought in a recon helicopter and a bunch of recon infantry. Now the helicopters, as usual, I only bring in 1 squad because the helicopters are pretty situational. I really like the French planes because the French have a good variety. The Jaguars are sea aircraft, they are anti-radar. The Super N10 Dart, I think, has some pretty good ground attack missiles. And the Mirage has decent range against aeroplanes, pretty good all overall. And the Mirage as well has some ground attack. I've chosen the Mirage SF over the Mirage 111E, and the reason is because the Mirage SF has 8 400 kg rounds as opposed to the Mirage 111E with only 4 400 kg rounds. And as a result, I think the additional 25 points is well worth the money. Alright, so this is the main bulk of my French deck. And what I would say is that the main punch of this deck is my infantry to hold and to secure important key points, and backed up by my support Rolands and Mistrals, while my vehicles such as the AMX will do the main bulk of my punch and attack against the Soviet tanks and packed vehicles, because the packed players tend to bring a lot of the heavy tanks. So these ATGM vehicles are very important to bring in. My tanks are more of situational kind of thing, where I try and position them to get attention to soak up the main bulk of the fire. One thing I must say is that I tend to feel that the French deck would favor a player that uses a lot of speed, maneuverability, and positioning. So let's say for the infantry, for example, if you find that you are the kind who can micro very well, then I would suggest you bring in the infantry using the helicopters as carriers because they are much faster and they can help you secure important key points and positions. My personal playstyle is sort of a slow push, and as a result I tend to pick all of my units in ground-based carriers, including my recon. I've seen players who like to use their recon in helicopters and secure a lot of frontal point views, a lot of vision. So that's something that you can think about. Alright, so that's my French deck, and I will be trying out this deck in my subsequent games. To look out for it in the next episode. And yep, that's all from me. See you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.